Moving to Brazil was the most stressful thing I've done in my life. And I'm not talking about stress for a couple of weeks. I was feeling stressed for many months. And I've lived in some other countries as well. I've lived in the UK, the US, and moving to those countries was stressful as well. But moving to Brazil was even more stressful than those countries. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing Brazil. Brazil was the best thing I've done. I really like Brazil, but it was pretty stressful at the beginning. And in this video I'm going to go through why moving here was so stressful. And the first reason why it was stressful was the language barrier. So I took Portuguese lessons before I arrived in Brazil. So
trouxe a colher porque essa sala é difícil de... diluir. Então tem que mexer antes, é melhor, né? É, dá uma mexida e vai tomando devagar. Esse aqui é só 5,5, ó. Você lembra que eu cortei bem aqui em volta, assim, um pedaço, uma meia lua? Ó, mas aqui eu acho perigoso, eu faria lá em cima da mesa, tá? Esse é 5. 5,5. E como ele é perigoso pro fígado, imagina daí você ficar com dor no fígado, mais um problema no fígado. Daí nem sei como que trata, né?
Again, they use a lot of slang and accents, but I didn't really have that much of a problem adapting to that. Movies that you watch from the States and the UK, so you kind of learn the slangs and the different accents. So yeah, I didn't have a massive problem.
Aí vai ter que achar um horário para preparar a cotação, porque também não vai fazer o homem ficar esperando indefinidamente, né? E tem que prestar atenção para... Acho que até vou levar meu telefone, vou ver se continuo dormindo, porque é engraçado, eu acho que eu estou com algum problema na gengiva. Na verdade, teria que ter ido no dentista para tirar esse aparelho e fazer uma limpeza e o reajuste, né? Porque eu sinto que eu escovo e não fica limpo, né?
Actually, Zappy uses WhatsApp. So basically, asking if you're mobile device, they can add you to know WhatsApp. And I remember meeting one guy, and he said, "Oi, mano, beleza?" Hello, mano, beautiful. Is he calling me beautiful? What is he? So with all these, it's pretty simple to learn. You know, just have to type it into Google Translator and you learn it. But at the beginning, it was just this constant thing of not understanding what people are saying. And it just kind of builds your confidence down in what you've learned. And also another thing is that in many other countries, especially in Europe as well, where they don't speak English as the first language, if you're really struggling speaking language, if you start speaking English, then usually there will be someone who kind of knows English and can start speaking English with you and helping you. But in Brazil, it is a lot more difficult to find someone that speaks English. I mean, it all depends on where you are. If you're in kind of the nice central parts of Sao Paulo, where you've got all the big offices and businesses, there the chances are very high that you'll find someone who can speak English. But if you're just in the kind of the local supermarket or something, and you don't understand what they're saying, the chances are pretty low that you'll be able to find someone who can speak English. Because in Brazil, essentially, the population that speaks English to an okay level is pretty low. I mean, just Googling it, they say it's about 5% of the population, which I think is probably a bit low. I'd say it's a bit higher than that.
Do you speak English?
No.
I think so. Do you speak English? Do you speak English? I'm looking for the post office. You don't know? Thank you.
But I guess a good thing about not being able to communicate in English here in Brazil that much is that you're forced to learn Portuguese very quickly. So another reason why the move to Brazil was pretty stressful was the fact that there's a fair bit of bureaucracy and paperwork, and certain things can just be a bit difficult to do, and it takes a long time. So I'm talking about things like, yeah, first of all, getting the visa, getting a Brazilian driving license, getting a tax ID, which is called CPF, opening a Brazilian bank account, and many other things. So just to give you a couple of examples, so when I tried to open up my first Brazilian bank account, it took a long time, and that was difficult. So I went to one of the big banks, spoke to them there saying, you know, I'm a foreigner, but I've got a permanent visa here, I'd like to open a bank account. And I thought it'd be pretty easy because I had a visa, I was living in Brazil, my wife was Brazilian, but no, it took time. And one of the reasons was the fact that the employees in the bank just experienced setting up a bank account for a foreigner. So I mean, I remember seeing in the bank manager's office, giving them lots of the documents they asked for and so on, and then typing my information into the system. In the system, I had to write my address in Sweden. I can't remember why, if it was my place of birth or where I'd previously worked. I can't remember, but I had to type in address in Sweden, and the system just wouldn't accept the address. They wouldn't accept the postcode because the format was different. And so the manager sat there trying to type it into the system, and the system just wasn't accepting it. And I don't know what to do. And I had to call the headquarters and ask them. And eventually the headquarters said, yeah, you just need to click on these buttons here and type in a foreign address. And just things like that, which you'd expect, you know, typing an address would take 2 minutes. But in the end, it probably took like 20 minutes, 30 minutes for the bank manager to, because they weren't experienced, didn't know how to type in a foreign address in the system. And also another thing is when I was applying for the Brazilian visa, the Brazilian driving license, and some other things, they always asked for notarized documents. So you need to take your kind of your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, and various other things and get them notarized. So you need to go to these notary agencies, which are called ca2, and then they take a copy of the official document, you have and stamp and document. And also when you sign things as well, they stamp and say, oh, this is his signature, and then you pay him some money for doing that. So in Brazil, I was constantly going to these notary offices, getting things notarized. And I just found it so weird going to these places, because in Sweden and the UK and so on, you don't really go to these places. If you need to take a copy of something, and then you just need to ask someone else who's not related to you to sign the document, who's in a certain profession. So you can ask a lawyer, an accountant, a doctor, a director of a company, just to sign saying, yeah, this is a copy of the actual document. And that's it. You don't have to drive around to these notary offices all the time and pay money. So yeah, that's another thing that took a lot of time and effort to do, and just slow down the process. And the third reason why I found moving to Brazil stressful was the crime, because I think for most foreigners, the only thing you kind of hear about Brazil in the news and so on is about the crime, especially in Rio de Janeiro and the favelas, where you see the shootouts between the police and the criminals. And so many foreigners, including me, have this image of Brazil having high crime and being quite a scary place. And so when I moved to Brazil and lived in the big cities, I had this insecurity. So I was scared of, you know, going outside, going for a run. I was scared of driving in the city. I was thinking, if I drive and I make a wrong turn, I'm going to end up in a dangerous favela. And one thing I was very scared of was parking a car, because I was told that a lot of muggings and carjackings happen when you park the car on the street. So I was very scared about where to park the car. And I was constantly asking my Brazilian wife, you know, I need to go to this place, what's the safe route to go to this place, or I want to go for a run, where should I run, which neighborhoods. And it took me a couple of months in order for me to calm down about the crime and start getting familiar with the city, and knowing which areas to go to and which areas to avoid, and also just kind of the precautions to take when you're out walking, exercising, or driving the car. For the foreigners watching this, don't think that crime is really high in Brazil and all the places. That's definitely not the case. If you live in the smaller cities and towns, in a lot of these, you can be very relaxed. Their crime can be very low. I mean, where I live, in a small town in the south of Brazil, here I can be totally relaxed. I can walk around at night time, I can walk around talking on my mobile. There's no muggings or hijackings or anything. So yeah, don't get the impression that the whole of Brazil is full of crime. But in the big cities, you just have to be a bit careful. And also another reason why I felt very stressed when I moved to Brazil was the fact that I was missing family and friends back in Europe. Now this isn't specific to Brazil. When you move overseas, you're going to have this feeling of missing family, friends back home. But one of the reasons why I felt it was worse here in Brazil was the fact that flights are more expensive from Europe to Brazil compared to like when I was living in the US and flights to the US. So if you look here, for example, the cost of a flight from London to New York is between $400 and $500, but a flight from London to Sao Paulo in Brazil is between $800 to $1,000, so nearly twice the cost. And so what that means is that I'm flying less to Europe because of the cost compared to when I was living in the US. And then also friends and family in Europe are more reluctant to fly to Brazil to see me because of the high cost. But I would also say that friends and family are more reluctant to fly to Brazil to see me because of the fear of the crime, because of what the media shows. So I think it's probably both factors of why family and friends come and visit me less in Brazil compared to in the US. And then finally, another thing that caused a lot of stress for me when I moved to Brazil was my health deteriorating when I arrived here. So I'd say that the first year I was living in Brazil, I got sick a lot. Temperatures, sore throats, blocked nose, and very tired. Yeah, up to that point, I basically never got sick. Very rarely got, a cold or a flu or anything. But then here in Brazil, I was getting one after another. Who knows what the reason was? I mean, I personally think it was a combination of things. I mean, firstly, I think the stress reduced my immunity, made me more prone to get colds and flus. But then also I think it was partly the climate as well. So I live in the south of Brazil, and here it's very humid, and you have some big fluctuations in temperature as well. So you can have one day where
Hello!
it's 20 degrees Celsius, and the next day it can be like 10, 15 degrees Celsius, and then the following day it can be hot again. And so you have these really big fluctuations.
Hi, what's in Greece? How are you?
My body wasn't used to that at all, and my body just couldn't protect me against the viruses and so on. Because in Sweden the air is much drier, and yeah, you have some big changes in temperature, but they're not drastic like that.
My tooth is aching.
And also another thing with the changes in temperature as well.
Tooth is aching a lot.
The houses
I'm taking medicine
aren't very well insulated,
for
so
pain.
you feel the changes in temperature a lot more.
Till I meet
inside
the
building.
doctor in the
You
morning.
have a lot more insulation, and so the temperature inside the house stays more constant.
The dentist in the morning.
And I'll never know what the reason was. I mean, I went to see the doctors a lot, and they asked me if I'd taken the vaccines, which I hadn't. I mean, they recommend you take a vaccine for hepatitis when you move to Brazil, also yellow fever in certain areas in Brazil, which I'd taken, flu vaccines as well. So it wasn't that. And the doctors kind of just, they thought it was stress. I mean, I personally think it was probably a combination of factors that I mentioned. But thankfully it improved over time, and now I'm back to normal, hardly getting sick. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you. So moving to Brazil was pretty stressful, but still it was the right decision for me personally. And I think Brazil is great, but I don't think everything goes smoothly and everything's perfect. No, you're going to have some challenges and so on, and feel a bit stressed. But for me it was definitely the right thing to do. So I hope you like this video. Please leave a like, subscribe. If you've got any questions or anything, leave it in the commentary below. So thanks for watching. Until next time. In this video I want to talk about the best and worst banks in Brazil, in my opinion, and also how foreigners can set up a bank account here in Brazil and make transfers. So let's start off by looking at the big traditional banks. And in Brazil, the top 5 banks in terms of size are Brazil, Bradesco, Caixa Econômica Federal, and Santander. And these banks have lots of agencies in all parts of Brazil, but there are some differences between them. So Banco do Brasil and Caixa Econômica Federal, they're government banks. So the government has a controlling stake in them, and there are some advantages from having an account with these two banks. So they offer a lot of competitive mortgages to house buyers, a lot of loans as well to businesses and farmers. So a lot of people have accounts with these banks. Also, theoretically, your money should be pretty safe with them as well, because they're connected to the government. But these days, there are more and more questions about how financially stable governments are around the world, so I'm not sure if that still applies. And then they offer lots of investment options, shares, funds, corporate, public bonds, savings account and then insurance and all of that. So that's all pretty good. But there are also some challenges with opening a bank account with these two banks. So when I opened accounts with them, the process was not that smooth. It took a long time, a lot of effort, lots of documentation. I mean, maybe it was because I'm a foreigner and I'd recently arrived in the country, but yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. Also, the other thing is, how do I say this politely, they're not the most focused on innovation and technology. So their mobile or cell phone apps can sometimes kind of freeze on you a bit or give you error messages. And also, finally, Brazilian banks, not just these two, but in general, they love to charge a monthly fee for you having a bank account with them. And these fees can range from 30 reais to over 100 reais. So like $5 to up to $20 a month. And this applies to Banco do Brasil and Caixa as well. And now it is possible to open a very simple bank account with just the bare minimum, and then you don't have a monthly fee. But if you want a credit card and you want to make quite a few transfers per month and so on, then the chances are that you fee. But there's one other way of avoiding those fees, and that's if you're wealthy and you deposit in Banco do Brasil. It's 150,000 reais, which is $27,000. Then they remove the monthly fee. And then if we look at the other three big ones, Itaú, Bradesco and Santander. So with these, I found opening bank accounts with them a bit easier than Banco do Brasil and Caixa. And also their apps and websites work a bit better. There's still now and again things just freeze on you or just don't work. I don't know why, but usually the problems occur Monday morning. I'm not sure why that is. But yeah, that seems to be the time when I experience problems with these banks. But things are a bit better with these. And then these three banks also offer lots of investment options, insurance, pensions, and many other things. But again, they like to charge a monthly fee for you having a bank account with them. But again, it's possible if you go for a really simple one that you don't have to pay, or if you're wealthy and you invest a fair bit of money with them, then again, you don't have to pay the fee. Now, there's a government website which shows you a summary of the number of complaints against these banks. And if you look at that, of the top 5 banks, the one that has the most complaints apparently is Bradesco. You've got Itaú at 7th place, and then Santander at 10th place, and then you actually have Caixa and Banco do Brasil below that. So it seems like the 3 private banks have more complaints than the 2 government banks. But for me, my personal experience was the opposite. I had moments with Banco do Brasil and Caixa than with the other bank. But then there's also another website called Reclama Aqui. So they also summarize the amount of complaints against the banks. So what this does, it gives you a score overall in terms of how satisfied people are with the banks. So here you can see Santander got a pretty low score at 6.1. Banco do Brasil got a pretty good score at 8. Then you've got Itaú, and that's pretty good at 7.5. Bradesco 7, and Caixa Econômico Federal 6.7. So this gives a bit of a different picture to the government website I showed you earlier. And what I would say is that in my personal opinion, I had the least issues with Itaú in terms of setting up account and using the website and app and stuff compared to the other top 5. But I'm sure many other people watching this are going to disagree with me, and they would have had a totally different experience with these banks. So then if we look at the banks below the top 5, then you have BTG Pactual. So that's more of a bank. They offer current accounts and stuff as well, but they have no agencies, it's all online. Then you have Safra, and that's a bank kind of focused more on the high net worth individual. Then you have Sicredi and Sicobi, and they are cooperative banks. So the customers of the banks are actually owners of the business, and they also have lots of agencies around Brazil. And then finally you have Citibank, but they sold most of their banking business to Itaú a couple of years ago. So actually they're just focused on businesses and again high net worth individuals. So then let's have a look at the online Brazilian banks. So here in Brazil there are lots of these online banks, and the biggest of these is Nubank. So this was set up in 2013. So it hasn't been trading for that long, about 15 years. And Warren Buffett from Berkshire Hathaway actually invested in this bank, and it's grown a lot and very quickly. And actually, if you look at the number of clients, it has over 100 million clients now. So it's actually ranked at number 3 in terms of number of clients. The ranking we looked at earlier was based on finances. And I like this bank. Their app is really easy to use. Opening up a bank account was super quick. and they don't charge a monthly fee for your bank account or a credit card. I mean, if you want a more advanced credit card and so on, then they charge a fee. But if you just want a normal bank account and credit card, there's no monthly fee, which is really good. However, they do charge for cash withdrawals, which is 6 reais per withdrawal, which is $1.10. But that's not a big issue because I never withdraw cash anymore. And if you do need to, then if you have a bank account with one of the other big banks, then you just use them instead. So overall, I haven't had any issues with Nubank. It's been pretty smooth. And then you have lots of other online banks. So you have Banco Inter, ca2 Bank, PicPay, PagSeguro, Mercado Pago, Neon, Banco Rendimento, many others. So these banks are smaller than Nubank, and again, most of them don't charge monthly fees for having a bank account with them. Some charge for withdrawals, others don't. But these banks are a bit smaller and newer, and so you've got this question mark of how safe is your account with them. So if we look at complaints against the online banks, so let's first have a look at the government website. So here you can see that the number 1 bank with the most complaints is Inter, Banco Inter. Then the number 3 is Mercado Pago, then you have Banco ca2, PagSeguro, PicPay, Neon, Pagamentos, and so Nubank is down at number 15. And my personal experience is, I would agree with that in terms of not having any issues with Nubank. But you can see with the other ones like Inter and Banco ca2 and so on, they've had quite a few complaints. If you look at ca2, it's a completely different picture. So Inter, which was at number 1, it's got quite a good reputation on ca2. Nubank has got a very good reputation, 8.6. I think that's the highest of all the banks. Oh no, PicPay got even higher at 8.7. So again, this website kind of contradicts the other websites that I showed you. But there are some consistencies between the two, and that is that Nubank has got a good score on both of them. There's one final group of banks or financial companies, because I don't think they are actually banks, and that is Wise and Revolut. And so both of these are now operating in Brazil, and so you can have a Brazilian bank account with these two, which is in the Brazilian currency, the Brazilian real. But these two bank accounts are a bit more limited. I mean, they're adding more features all the time, but you can do, transfers, and they've got some simple savings accounts and so on. So that's another option. And again, they don't charge for you to set up them. And what I would say is that if you're someone who travels or you're a foreigner moving to Brazil, in my opinion, it's worth setting up an account with these two, because when you come to transferring money and so on, these can be cheaper than using other banks. I guess that's a quick rundown of a lot of the banks in Brazil. Obviously, I didn't mention all of them. And in terms of my personal favorites, like I said before, in terms of the big traditional banks, I've had the least issues with Itaú. In terms of the online banks, I really like Nubank, and also Wise and Revolut. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is foreigners opening up bank accounts here in Brazil. So in general, this process is not simple, but that's the case in a lot of countries as well. I know that in Sweden and UK as well, it can be a nightmare to set up a bank account if you're a foreigner. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge in Brazil as well. And so what you need to do to open an account with most banks is that, first of all, you need a CPF number, which is a tax ID. Now that isn't too difficult to get. So what you need to do, if you're already in Brazil, what you need to do is you can go onto this website here, fill out a form, and then you send an email attaching this form and a couple other documents to the Brazilian tax authority. Now you can do that if you're physically in Brazil. If you're not in Brazil, then you need to go to a Brazilian consulate, or obviously you can use a lawyer who can do it for you. So the CPF number isn't too difficult to get, and what I would say is that if you're planning to go to Brazil, get a CPF number, because it's just going to make your life so much easier, because you'll need it for most things. In order to get a mobile chip or a cell phone chip, to buy things online and various other things, you'll need a CPF number. So that should definitely be one of the first things you do, even if you're not planning to open a bank account. And then in terms of other documents the banks will ask you, so they'll ask for a proof of address, so water, electricity statement or something. And then proof of income as well. And with most of them, especially the online banks, you need a Brazilian mobile cell phone number as well. And then comes the key one, and that is they'll request your Brazilian ID. So you'll need a Brazilian visa in order to get the Brazilian ID, and the banks will request this. So So if you don't have a Brazilian visa and a Brazilian ID, then it'll be very difficult to open bank accounts with the big banks or with the online banks. Now I know some people have said they found glitches with some of the smaller online banks where they're not requesting a copy, but I think most of the banks now have changed that. However, there is still a way of getting a Brazilian bank account without having a visa and Brazilian ID, and that is opening a CDE bank account. And that's called Conta de Domiciliado no Exterior. So that translates as an account for those who are domiciled abroad. Now, not all banks offer this, but some do. And the documents you need to provide in order to open one of these bank accounts is, again, CPF, which isn't too difficult to get, copy of your passport, proof of address abroad, and maybe proof of income abroad as well. And so these bank accounts have been created to allow foreigners who aren't living in Brazil to invest in Brazil, so buy a property or something. And what I would say is that sometimes banks can complicate things. I don't know, sometimes I get the impression that the banks aren't too interested in opening these bank accounts for foreigners because it's a lot of hassle for them or something, I don't know. So I know of some foreigners who have tried to open these banks with some banks, and it just takes a long time. In the end, they kind of just reject the application. But I do know that quite a few people have managed to do it with an online bank called Banco Rendimento. So they offer CDE accounts, and I know quite a few people have managed to get these CDE bank accounts with that bank. But there are others as well. And in terms of transferring money overseas to Brazil, the two services I use are Wise and Revolut, because these fees in general are lower than the big Brazilian banks. What you can do with these two companies is that you set up a dollar, euro, or sterling bank account with them, and then also a Brazilian real bank account as well. So you just transfer dollars, euro, sterling to them, and then convert it into Brazilian reais, and then you use the debit card that they provide you with, and then you just spend your Brazilian reais in Brazil. Now there is a limit on how much you can transfer if you use that method. The other way is that you transfer dollars, euro, sterling to Wise or Revolut, and then you transfer to your Brazilian bank account with one of the Brazilian banks. So again, that's pretty simple, and the fees are relatively low. It is important to know that you need to transfer money from your bank account overseas to your bank account in Brazil. Don't transfer money from your bank account overseas to someone else's bank account in Brazil, because that can have tax implications. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. Please leave a like, subscribe if you've got any questions, anything, leave in a commentary. So thanks for watching, until next time.
É surreal que no...
Ai, Bilbo. Need to brush my teeth. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. This is in briefing. What is watch? Still. I almost did. This is novel, right? Settings, que isso é V offline. Mods skin. Ah, ok. Ai. Muito persuasive. Just need in time.
Cool, but they also scare me. I mean, that's why I've stuck with RPG Maker. How many RPG Maker does this guy have? Every single one. I quite literally have. I'm pretty sure that I have every single RPG Maker except for the. I think it's the Pixel Game Maker. It's like their platforming. It's their most recent one. I don't have that one, but that's because it's like $100, and I don't have that kind of money. Just notice it's the Game Bruh. It is the Game Bruh. Thank you for noticing. I bought VX Ace for like $2 because I heard it's used primarily for Pokemon fan game, not particularly wanting to learn Ruby though. Yeah, and that's the thing is like with VX Ace, there's enough good plugins out there that like you probably don't have to really know that much. Most of them are just plug and play, and then they should like kind of take you through a lot of the stuff. Some random says, no, those are some random dudes tutorials. I'm a completely different person, I swear. Very different. Very different. Definitely not the same person over there. I know how to code in GDScript and Lua, but it feels so nice to use an engine where I don't have to code everything. Yeah, it is nice. I actually came here from YouTube. I saw some shorts a while back and subbed. I appreciate that. Thank you. I mainly know how to use RPG Maker from Fundagus, Pokemon Essential Tutorials. Pokemon Essentials is a plugin thing to make RPG Maker XP via Pokemon Game Maker. That is really cool. I bought XP as well. XP is a good one. I got mixed up. I accidentally said VX Ace earlier. Oh, gotcha. I mean, they're all pretty good. Like, and honestly, like, so long as you're not wanting to use a whole bunch of plugins and scripts and things like that, you can use any of the RPG makers, and you're gonna be able to make basically the exact same thing. It just might look a little bit different, which is totally fine. Godot is also nice, but it is different and has its own scripting language. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that kind of throws me off too. Is like with Godot, I'm like, it would be cool. I don't know, maybe. What are you working on fixing again? So as of right now, so we have the puzzle itself working. But since you're talking about fixing things, I am going to pull this up really quick. Now, did you say that it was in the art channel? Oh my gosh, but we got one, man. What? Wait, what is this? This was the menu for a Fish Battle Royale game. Oh,
Fucking resolve.
that is amazing.
Damn it.
I love it.
Later night,
demo.
guy, have a good night.
I can check that out. I honestly don't know a better place to post this game. Oh, it's the reroll beta. Alright, I am going to download it.
Hi. Oh yeah, so insufficient power. He needs to rest. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Password. I don't know what's this. Tracking. Gonna start again. Desktop about. Hmm. 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 So this is Canada. Is it responding requests? No. Hmm. Net note. Maybe I open net note and if NFS node. Hmm. Then let me check the standard collector service. This is it run? Yeah, maybe turn off now. Standard collector service. I turn on the Visual Studio. Maybe predicting I'm gonna debug. Okay. Then Canada 2. Nice. I could run. Ay. For script. Are you sure? No, yeah, sure. Bugs everywhere. Hi, Lord. Need to fix the bugs. Quit. What's in here? Software update available. Command line tools. Okay, update. Okay. Canada. This is the last version that runs on Intel. I'm a bit stressed. Lord. Maybe I close all of this. According to this, how it's called, spreadsheet. Let me see how it was last month. 5 of September. I finished sort of. By day 22. This month I start day 6 or day 5. I start to and I'm about to finish. I think I was I'm not authorized to access between Apple servers for download. iOS 26 simulator. Then maybe I can do Raspberry, and maybe I probably not sign need to pay Apple developer subscription. So let's add then I'm pretty tired. Sure. Then here Canada. This desktop next maybe Canada 5. I would try to do iOS here to let me see if I'm gonna try a couple of times maybe. Empty trash. Then Xcode. Settings. Components. Then let me try to get iOS download fail. What's the information? I don't know if it's related to me not have authentication fail. So maybe I'm not allowed to without an Apple developer license subscription. I don't know, it's not clear to me why I'm not authenticated. Strange sort of. iOS is not the thing you. So let me quit all programs. Trying to avoid them opening as macOS starts. Okay. Then you can shut it down. Shut it down. No. Maybe it's turning off. Okay. Maybe in the desk.
Faltam 2 horas ainda para se tomar o. Por aquele negócio embaixo da unha.
Cuidado que você. No último momento eu esqueci que ele me chamou.
Vou apagar essa luz aqui.
Não, comigo.
Ah, você vai vir aqui?
Bom, vai lá subir, descansar, por favor. Eu também tenho gosto de gato, que eu não posso fechar. Tava muito gostoso. Ai. Eu acho que foi maravilhoso. Eles marcaram o horário, não, né? Tá pingando um pouco. O dedo aqui, ó. Se eu ficar com sono, eu subo, mas você pode continuar aqui. Aqui é bom porque ele já falou como que é silencioso. Lá em cima não é tão silencioso, não. Eita, mano. Então tá bom.
What's this? What's this? What is this? What are you playing? This is League of Legends, it's another version. That's mega boom. What is that? I don't. I'm curious, but I don't want to ask. I don't want to disturb the chilling. The chilling. And very cool. I'm not understanding, but it's the way the guy walks. And happens so many things, so many random things. Right. Is it like a slots game? Because I see dollars, event dollar sign. There's even a criteria of, I don't know how it works that when you change more resilience. Christ, this is so crazy. This is so crazy. This is so crazy. That 3 stones around him does all the job. I agree. Christ, this is very, very crazy. Hmm, let me try. I don't like much. Let's see, no, I don't want to watch this. T-cap just arrived. me go back here. I'm waiting for this standard collector service. It's not reducing the size to know. I don't know why. It's not human, it's a cat. There's a fog today. Let me see. Let me check something here. I don't see that this is the size of the standard collector service is getting smaller. Look, sometimes it increases back. It's not converging down to no. It's not, it oscillates. It's unstable, because it's oscillating. No, unstable is when it's oscillates and grows, right? Not defines. It's oscillatory. It goes over 9.5, then 9.4, 9.5, 9.4. I'm gonna try to close this. I don't know if Visual Studio was defective. I now I want to eat banana. I talk so much about banana. I needed to find a banana. Mom always have a banana somewhere in the house. No, just kidding. There are a couple of places where they can be. But maybe it's too old, too ripe. I found a banana. In fact, I think there are almost a dozen of bananas in the Mm. Mm. Then it immediately disappeared. Mm. I need one more banana. They talk so much about banana. I know. Hmm. Oh, look, it disappeared. I don't know how it happened. But standard collector service, you know,
Where do bananas rank? 5 is like you don't mind eating it and you might buy them sometimes, but like a 4 is like you don't want to buy them at the grocery store, but then you'll eat it if you have to. That's where I rank bananas. A peak banana is an easy 7 to 6. That's ever fruited. I'd go 7 for bananas. That's pretty high, I feel like.
me.
Objectively, you're wrong. Most of my banana consumption is milkshakes. Is that like a health thing? Protein shakes or something? It's an interesting banana conversation. Mangoes and pineapples are easy 10s. A peak banana is an easy 7. Pineapple is a 10? Bro, Gripple, that shit has acid that burns the inside of your mouth, dog. That's a 10 for you? That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Pineapples are like the worst fruit. I'd put pineapple at like a 2 probably. Like edible, but pretty gross. 1 is like they're inedible, you know what I mean? Have you ever had fresh Hawaiian pineapple? No, I can't say that I have, to be fair. They're nuts. Pineapple top tier for sure. Bro.
I don't understand why when you open Visual Studio it starts the standard collector set.
I'm like second to last, yeah, out of 10.
Maybe
I don't like cantaloupe either.
it's preparation for start the boot.
It tastes good, and then I put a cantaloupe in my mouth, and I'm like, ugh.
So okay,
Why that happens? Because like most fruit, I like
maybe it's ready to start.
peak watermelons a 9. Peak apples are 9 on the Richter
Yeah,
scale. There are so many
to
ranks.
start.
Honeydew is the money melon.
I'm gonna start to observe at Canada 5.
Nah, bro, trust me. You want to hear an S tier fruit? 10 out of 10 fruit, bro?
Canada 5.
Y'all are fucking crazy saying shit like pineapple. Rainier cherries taste like fucking candy.
I'm gonna wait for
They don't
it
even taste like they should be
trying
like
to.
a healthy food that you should be allowed to
No,
eat.
I don't know what to do.
Rainier cherries, bro. Cherries are awesome, but too many
Okay,
people
don't
shit.
want to
That's
eat.
every fruit,
No,
bro. You're not supposed to eat any of them.
I.
You get shits from fruit, bro.
I'm liking to wait and feel the pain.
What a mixtape. Cherries are 10, true. Well, not just any cherries. Rainier cherries specifically.
So I need to figure out
Have you guys had any of these? Look
what
at they'll only
happened,
show up like briefly
what
in
was
the
changed,
notification. They're like good for 2 weeks and that's it.
that the web server became so bad.
S tier.
I don't know. I don't know. It started responding fastly, but then it degrades, no degrades or degrades. Performance
Starfruit has to be even off the vine.
to
Bro, that's crazy.
to
Watermelon and pineapple have never given me the shits. Then you haven't eaten
web
them.
knowledge
You're eating them as
to
fruit?
let me translate to English. The performance of the C2.NET Node web server degrades within a few hours. Why? Big rates. No, I don't want to eat the other banana. Is it time to take the other medicine? No, the other medicine I'm gonna take 5.5. Okay, this is the NFS server is working very well there. Not node web server that's degrading very fast. Let me see something. The problem is that unless there's an error, it won't lock the creation of a socket. Oh, this is an EFS node. The Shuveki, what's happening? Then here. This is strange. Many links. Seems broke. It's raining. Hi, Tommy, I love you. Hi, Jane. I love you so much. 10 degrees feels like 5. What spring is that? Why this? Why this? How it's called? These are the piece coming from. I. Close all of them. Initiative. let me. I need to. What's happening to my toolbar, the taskbar? I think it's WhatsApp. It's because WhatsApp is touching the taskbar. I won't. Wait, where are you? I closed all my remote desktops. Jesus. Can't do this. Every little thing is a torture now. With this toothache. It's much better to like they say, old saying, it's better to prevent than to fix, right? So here can you code. So I'm gonna Bilbo Sonomo. Ele was Sonoma, now it's the Holy. So I'm gonna change the name to the last version that works in Intel machines. Sort of interesting. Can be kept maybe for historical purposes. Mm. The bird giving meat to the kids. A warm some meat. IG. I needed to check what else there. Maybe here these repositories macOS built on. And macOS build part of the birds walk you up build. I don't know if co-founder mom our goddess, provider goddess, prepared your food. You know, I don't know the proportions. There's there's proportion. We're giving you a mix, right? So here is macOS. I'm gonna take opportunity to change this name. So yeah, I'm gonna maybe already change this name. I am in a vibe of renaming repositories to follow a certain pattern. It is already changed. It smells and maybe I do here. I don't know. At macOS the whole. This is a mode with reduced transparency. So I won't see transparency. I don't know, I think it's impossible to run. Let me try to install this profile to know install. I'm gonna remove this profile. Remove. Gonna remove this profile and in accessibility display. There's reduce transparency. That's it. Is virtual machine. I don't know if it does. Repository clone. macOS build all parts. Yeah. Something has failed. try to remove graphics 3D. Okay. Alright. Reviewing Finder first. I'm gonna delete this to move the trash. Okay. Then I'm gonna try to pull this. Yeah. Let me pull this user generation.
Writing your own engine makes you make different games. If you're used to writing like code, you make new games.
Then this repository is a bit damaged, corrupt, because I'm removing graphics 3D, but the repository itself gonna have a memory, some storage inside the git folder of the graphics 3D. I'm gonna have memory of that graphics 3D submodule. So what I have to do is like a procedure. Maybe someday they fix this for submodules too. So here at ca2, I go, it's this place. Yeah, connect anywhere, let me try. Okay. So I'm gonna rename this one. Mhm. Then I can remove add a key and create new part all one. So this is macOS build all part with graphics 3D removed. Now I'm gonna clone. I need clones. It cleanups what was deleted too, so it's gonna be a bit different. So I check clone again. I use checkout subversion terminology another controversial system. Code macOS build all parts. Let me clone. Now it doesn't have this macOS build all parts. Won't have this freshly cloned, won't have graphics 3D traces to know in it, except for the history of the macOS build all parts. Won't have repository itself. Came on. Is that big? Okay. Now besides this name build maybe it's a bait, a clickbait. It's a name bait. It's a bit erroneous. It doesn't have everything. It has a lot of diverse things, but not everything. And let me add this mod and call it macOS low length port graphics 3D. I'm putting the qualifier before, like respecting image. Support thing for graphics 3D is macOS. So I think it's correct. Then here inside port can use the proper name graphics 3D. The abbreviation like in C++, C2, C++ code. Better abbreviation is this, right? The last name, the noun, sort of the noun. It's not the qualifier. It's the noun, the object. Construct, phrase, construct. So graphics 3D. It was, I don't know. It has port. It's not a port. A port is that folder that becomes a port. This becomes Crux3D from at a port. It's correct. It's just that the it's important this name convention because it gives it's like our crux, right? Well, gooder crux. Maybe about the more created that were crux. For it's not bad to defend the eternal life, right? But maybe he sucked too much energy, not efficient. But what's good? He put many anchors here, there, and everywhere to maintain his. And when you create a good naming convention, it's sort of like this, an anchor, or crux, or to maintain that, establish that thing. So here, add. I noticed that many moves, for example, transformers, maybe the idea of a single device that do a lot of things is a good device, right? They paint like evil, but it's like pure does video, camera, everything, right? A mini box. Okay, make C2 is not C2, it's CPP port async. Okay. It makes sense. This path, and that's the same. Main. Then I think I remember all the models now. Then the GLM, I used directly the GLM. Graphics 3D port. The GLM is the G-truck GLM. G-truck GLM. Dash truck. I don't know what's. I'm curious to know what's truck. What's this project? It's from frames. J-Truck creation. Mm.
progress. Cool it. Game is not done.
Why is it all in the dice?
I am, though, for the time being. Can we just start toying around with that idea? See what could happen with the
Why does this board game match have characters?
little board and
It's
spider thing?
birthday bash.
See what
They'd
happens.
have
Anyone up for that? I also itched to do some level generation
with
with Mantis.
Sorry, people. Sorry, anybody watch. Excuse me. Detached head. Ah, I forgot to run out. It doesn't look usual. To check out just a part of the tree.
Rats. Rats. Type 5? What was it? I don't remember. I actually do remember. No.
I need to take the meds.
How's that even possible?
See, you start aching again.
Actually, is that
Yeah. Mom said spilling water treating.
this?
But today I
Unopened.
think it's good to eat something. I'm gonna prepare some snowflakes.
We're thinking about how to
I'll
get it
be
over,
back in a bit.
but we never meet anymore. So
there you go.
it's been a while, and I think we met like once for lunch or something last year, and now it's like
First of all, team this level too hard. Try to boss fight.
we should do that.
I mean,
Get that too. You did get it, like if you remember. I don't know if you tried it out, but you did get another thing because this one was on. I ordered it and then it got stuck somewhere in the delivery, so we couldn't get it to you. So I bought another thing and got it to you. I tried it, yeah. It's sort of the same thing. So if you wanna trade it, so I can try the other one, that would be cool too. I don't know.
All right.
I think they could be pretty cool. It's
Well, look at the
Octave Plus.
I forget.
Did you try it for
Okay,
guitar
so-
or for?
Can't do it. Can't beat it.
I'll mention that
What
not
if
beatable. It's not beatable.
we team up,
pressure flame things
we develop a water bottle,
look
okay?
like just another
This base
background
here,
item.
this base here, doesn't actually
Took me a
hold
while
water,
to
but
Anyway,
instead,
I'm gonna start
it
a
has
new
a
Godot
charging
project
point
for
in
the
it.
millionth
It's
time.
waterproof.
New
It's
Windows.
water sealed and everything.
I'm gonna
So
copy
when
over
water
some
comes
stuff.
here, it doesn't accidentally get in there and damage stuff. And it
You only have
contains
lunch with
circuitry and
people
a battery
who give you presents.
to
That's
Sure.
a reasonable.
Well, good.
on the side and goes off every 12 months or so, or however long you set it for.
Mass billboards.
To
Let's
remind
call
you
it
to take
that.
a sip.
Great.
And- And better yet,
Folder.
it displays ads as well. As, hey, you've had an entire bottle. Why don't you now enjoy some McDonald's as a treat for drinking your water? Yeah,
Nice graphics.
I reckon we can make
Handing out some
at least $20
the bigness. You have a key in your
Graphics.
in Discord.
smartphone app.
I'm saving the 5 for something
This water
that's more my
bottle,
style, I guess.
The water bottle is like
Theme?
energy
I
drink.
think I should
So
write
you
down
don't feel
some of
ashamed
the
that
things.
you're drinking water.
I mean, no,
Like,
we
again,
use it
check out the
Great
collect the
Spark
thing.
water bottle.
It gives you an upgrade.
Is it actually spelled?
Nothing revolutionary on the thing. I'll go average on the thing.
Done. Alright.
Is this going to annoy me as well?
Innovation.
Why?
I would say no innovation. Like,
I know,
just
I know,
your
I
own
know you did
platformer,
that.
collect things, get power
Why
ups.
am I not surprised?
Did they give you
someone
anything,
has
though?
beaten us to this
That's
idea?
a good question.
So, yeah.
It's fun.
Melbourne.
I enjoyed it, especially
And
the
of
last level.
course it's
Because
like
I'm a platformer kind of guy.
80
You have a good platformer where you have to go around spikes and stuff. I like that.
Our little project here.
I like how they
So,
only
I
give
think
you
I'll go
USD.
We want
add
add-ons.
3.5 there
Whoops.
because
away.
of the spikes.
Why even have
Add-ons.
Otherwise,
other
go with the-
Copy
currencies
some
listed?
over from.
Just display it for language purposes.
Where I see spikes that I have to jump over.
Alright,
That's a
so
bonus
this one's
right
ready
there.
for
I think
retesting.
a lot of them will go here.
So
Game
yeah, we're
panel
all-
manager.
It doesn't
Same
even
as
change the
Description,
language.
Then
change the color of the bottom.
This company
add
is a
stuff
joke
in,
because
add
A,
stuff in, we're all happy. Ooh, this user
just displays USD for everything. For every country, it just displays USD.
the bug. This is why we test.
And
That
B,
was Windless.
selecting
by a bunch of
France
people.
or Netherlands or Spain, like
And that starts in
it's
50
not even
seconds, but
changing the
I
language.
played at 50 seconds.
It's all English still.
I think
This
time
drop
Wasn't it-
down
it
is
wasn't good enough for
pointless.
Twitch.
It does nothing.
I'm gonna play another.
Sounds very good.
Also bug here. The sensitivity is getting set to 0. But I moved for a little bit.
That child is still a
So I need to
sprite
tweak the weight.
from
I think what channel it is.
I remove the spoon, you're getting scared with the noise of the spoon.
Billboard. It's more or less exactly what I want.
Mm.
Physics. Where does it go?
Let's see if we can move this around some more. A couple of days maybe.
That hole looks like the Ubiquiti display.
Ubiquiti.
Where's the big button in the center?
It's as high as I can be.
Now let me take the sublime.
It's one of the add-ons I have that I really like. So we just set it to
Put the fire
something
button
Let's
where
see.
it's supposed to.
tech
Yeah,
deprecated.
Pew, 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 pew.
it's
TV
like
screen.
I don't. I just said it's fine. Only a bit
Oh
better.
my god.
Like so, my one would go up 20. But I
Cut
can't
off.
say because because it was this was given to me by a company when I was a contractor.
So small. It's below the nail. I just there's so dirty the nail.
It's usually something
Mhm. Its taste is like
nails.
orange. Mm. The pain will decrease soon
You
again,
run out of air.
while the other medicine, the ibuprofen effect is going out.
That's what I'm doing. Is just create a. The thing is, I want to make a closed mesh over here.
Mm.
To change the thing.
Mm.
What do we need a clear?
Then we need just clay.
Alright.
Okay, main maybe. asleep.